Sometimes rhythm makes me lose control.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 90s animated movies you forgot about.
Well, I won't be here very long.
I tell you the way I see it, you probably won't be around after Christmas.
For this list, we'll be looking at animated films from the 1990s that have since seemingly faded into obscurity. We'll be excluding films like Anastasia and the Iron Giant, which were underappreciated in their time but have since paid their dues. What 90s animated flick do you think is worth revisiting? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 10. Balto. Adapting a true story for animation is challenging enough, but doing so on the heels of Toy Story? Now that's damn near impossible. It's quite a shame this film about the wolf dog who assisted in rescuing his town from a deadly disease failed to connect with audiences on its first go-round. It's a story that celebrates individuality and the importance of perseverance. Despite facing rejection, it's Balto's differences that allow him to finish his journey to bring medicine to his town after several kids fall ill.
Whoa, that can't be legal?
Yeah!
Balto wasn't the only film to be eclipsed by Pixar's masterpiece, but its sense of adventure and wholesome themes could have easily led to more. Thankfully, it managed to gain a respectable following on home video. Number 9. A Troll in Central Park. If there were a king of forgotten animation, it would have to be Don Bluth. While some of his works, like The Land Before Time, were major hits, many of them have slipped through the cracks of film history. One such film follows a troll named Stanley who befriends a pair of human siblings after being banished to New York City for his friendly demeanor.
To somewhere that's safe and sunlit and serene, oh, and absolutely green.
A Troll in Central Park is light on the heavy subject matter that usually finds its way into Bluth's films. It's also the film of his that is arguably most squarely aimed at younger audiences.
I can't! I'm not going!
The lack of marketing didn't do it justice either, as audiences missed out on a charming movie that championed the importance of being yourself. Either that or the transformation traumatized you and you've chosen to block this movie out. Number 8. Rover Dangerfield. A movie starring Rodney Dangerfield as basically a canine version of himself? How did we miss that?
There's absolutely nothing to eat here.
Yeah? Look in the mirror.
In this musical comedy, the legendary stand-up lends his voice to a basset hound who is booted from his lavish digs in Las Vegas and finds a new home on the farm. Written by Harold Ramis and Dangerfield himself, it's a strange premise, to say the least.
Daisy, you're different than the dogs I've met before. You're wholesome. You're real. You're true. Daisy, you know what you are? You're the dog next door.
Dangerfield's signature brand of vulgar humor is largely softened to suit the film's family-friendly tone, which ensured its fate as a critical and commercial flop. Nevertheless, Rover Dangerfield still has plenty of energy due to its charming characters, heartfelt message, and, of course, the title character's self-deprecating wit.
Well, it's a dog's life and I love it. If there's a heaven, this is it for me.
Number 7. DuckTales the Movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp. DuckTales was a beloved staple of 80s television, so much so that it inspired an equally successful reboot in 2017. So how did we forget that there was also a theatrical movie with the same sense of adventure and nostalgia?
Stay close, Webby. No telling what kind of dangers we may find.
In Treasure of the Lost Lamp, Scrooge McDuck and his grandnephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie meet a genie while hunting for a long-lost treasure.
He's a genie!
Does his mother know about this?
While the boys are eager to use their 3 wishes, they soon fall victim to a power-hungry sorcerer. With its hijinks, heavy story, and eccentric ensemble of characters, the film seemingly has it all. It also works as a solid entry point for those who may be unfamiliar with the series. This is one treasure we wish was never buried.
Return the in before I stuff that lump down your throat.
Number 6. Rock-a-Doodle. Glen Campbell ruled the country music scene across the 60s and 70s, but it's possible that 90s kids will remember him better as the voice of Chanticleer in this live-action animation hybrid.
A stranger snuck onto our farm to stop Chanticleer from crowing. Of course, Chanticleer wouldn't give up without a fight.
The talented rooster has a voice of gold that gives him the power to raise the sun every morning. Following an incident that leaves him feeling ashamed and without purpose, he sets off for the big city to become a rock star, while his farm is plunged into eternal darkness.
For in all the commotion, Chanticleer had plumb forgot to crow.
Rock-a-Doodle is another film from Don Bluth that couldn't quite live up to its potential, only making a splash once it hit home video.
Cock-a-doo! No! Cow! Uh-oh. Aw, guys, it's no use. All I do now is sing the blues.
Yet it's hard to resist such a wacky concept, especially with a voice like Campbell's leading the way through some surprisingly catchy songs. Number 5. Quest for Camelot. Kayleigh's goal in life is to be a knight of the Round Table like her father. She seizes her chance when King Arthur's famous sword Excalibur is stolen by a vengeful lord. On paper, Quest for Camelot has everything it needed to be a bona fide hit.
This world I'll never see.
A story that puts a unique spin on Arthurian mythology? Check. Songs performed by Celine Dion and Steve Perry? Check. A two-headed dragon voiced by comedy icons Eric Idle and Don Rickles? Check.
You can't leave us here. If we try to go back, we'll be banished, ostracized, exiled.
Not to mention kicked out.
Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save the film from its numerous production troubles, which led to its delayed release, box office failure, and a smiting from critics.
I will not serve a false king.
Some tales aren't meant to go down in history, but just imagine how legendary this one could have been.
Let's barbecue this bully. I couldn't agree more.
Number 4. An American Tail, Fievel Goes West. Continuing the story from 1986's An American Tail, this riotous sequel follows the Mouskowitz family as they venture to Utah to build a better life. Along the way, Fievel and Tiger make a new friend in a law-enforcing bloodhound voiced by the legendary James Stewart. Fievel Goes West has a greater amount of comedic moments than its predecessor, though the eternal conflict between the mice and their cat adversaries reaches an all-time high. It parodies elements of the Western genre for a family setting while remaining a touching tribute to the immigrant experience.
You wouldn't be an artiste if you weren't just a teensy bit nervous.
Unfortunately, the film had to compete with Beauty and the Beast for box office supremacy, and you can imagine which movie won the duel.
Just remember, Fievel, one man's sunset is another man's dawn.
Number 3. We're Back, a dinosaur story. The 90s may have been the best time in history to be a dinosaur fan, thanks in no small part to the mega success of Jurassic Park. But another film released just 5 months after Steven Spielberg's classic took us on an exciting, albeit less terrifying, adventure of its own.
What happened to skyscraper?
We're Back follows a group of anthropomorphic dinos who are brought to modern-day New York City by a time-traveling scientist. Despite having a talented voice cast and cultural phenomenon on its side, the film was written off by critics as overstuffed and confusing.
Why, the 20th century appeals to me. So much to learn and so much to do, and a zillion wonderful things to chew.
While that may be partly true, We're Back radiates so much love for its characters that it's hard not to lose yourself within the hilarity that follows them.
Hi, Max. So this'll be our little secret, okay?
Okay. Number 2. Cats Don't Dance. Just ask yourself, how can a musical with songs by Randy Newman and choreography by the late great Gene Kelly be a box office disaster? We're not even sure we could answer that one.
This must be the place, Hollywood, where the streets are paved with gold.
Set in Depression-era Los Angeles, Cats Don't Dance follows an ambitious feline named Danny who has traveled from Indiana to make it big as an actor. Along the way, he makes a slew of animal friends, finds love, and learns a thing or two about stereotypes and prejudice.
Leaves you kinda speechless, don't it?
Unlike many of the films on this list, Cats Don't Dance was praised by critics for its callbacks to Golden Age Hollywood, widespread appeal, and infectious musical numbers. Yet, somehow, the film's spotlight faded almost as quickly as it turned on. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. James and the Giant Peach. The imagination of author Roald Dahl has lent itself to a number of well-known adaptations. But James and the Giant Peach has never quite experienced the popularity of films like Matilda and Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Bright lights, big city, that's where we gotta go.
The film tells the story of the orphan James as he travels inside a giant peach to New York, alongside a ragtag group of anthropomorphic bugs.
Fascinating, isn't it? What? What's fascinating? Tell me, don't leave me dangling.
The film's mix of otherworldly fantasy and zany thrills made it the perfect vehicle for stop-motion innovator Henry Selick, who directed the film alongside producer Tim Burton. Dahl's widow gave her stamp of approval for the finished product, and it's not hard to see why. The memorable characters and glorious animation easily make this one of the most underappreciated animated films of the decade. The film's mix of otherworldly fantasy and zany thrills made it the perfect vehicle. What's a vehicle?